Now let me give you a list. Anthrax, swine flu, bird flu, Ebola, SARS, coronavirus. What do all these diseases have in common? Their source. They can all be traced to unhygienic animal markets. Markets with extreme confinement levels, markets where both live and dead animals are on offer. What the Chinese call wet markets. So it has happened repeatedly, and yet we haven't learned from our past mistakes. Let me explain this further. Here's what's happening in China. China has lifted the lockdown. China has declared victory over the coronavirus. For the Chinese regime, this virus is now a foreign problem. Beijing is celebrating, and in some parts of China, you're not really celebrating unless there's an exotic animal on the table. But the Chinese regime has supposedly banned the trade of exotic meat. At least that is what it claims. There's a draft in circulation. This draft provides a white list of animals allowed to be raised for meat in China. It was released by the Chinese Agricultural Ministry. It is being called a game changer for animal welfare in China. A game changer. How exactly? Because this draft exempts dogs from human consumption. Dogs will now be pets, not food. There are other exemptions, are there? Not really. From foxes to deer to minks, most wildlife has again been approved as farm-raised species. What about bats and pangolins, the alleged source of the coronavirus? To the best of our knowledge, this draft does not mention them on any list, white or black. The issue has been left untouched, and the result is this: China's wet markets have gone back to operating exactly the way they did before this pandemic. Beijing clearly does not care about what the world is thinking and suffering. There are countless reports that support this. UK's Daily Mail has in fact given a detailed account of what's happening at these wet markets. Terrified dogs and cats crammed into rusty cages, bats and scorpions on sale for traditional Chinese medicine, rabbits and ducks being skinned alive side by side. This is how China is celebrating its so-called victory over the Wuhan virus. Thousands of customers are flocking to many such sprawling markets, we are told. The wet markets of Guilin in southwest China, Dongguan in southern China, and some reports say even Wuhan. These markets are back to selling exotic meat. What gives? Yesterday we told you about the Chinese government's ancient treasure, traditional Chinese medicine. A treasure which has the endorsement of the WHO. Chinese medicine is on the WHO's list of influential remedies, not backed by science. China's National Health Commission says one such remedy is useful in treating the coronavirus. It's called Tang Re King. I may pronounce it wrong, but this is what they're saying. Do you know how this medicine is made? By processing bile extracted from bears. These bears are shot in the wild only for their gallbladders. The less fortunate ones are captured and farmed by the thousands. They're confined to fit-to-size cages for years. Try watching videos of bear bile farming on the internet if you're ready to be reminded of human selfishness and cruelty. Using one atrocity to produce a cure for the consequences of another. I do not wish to be politically correct right now when so many people in the world are facing death. 97,000 lives have been lost. So let me say this. How many pandemics will it take for the Chinese regime to realize that its entire system is to blame? And neither do I wish to be selective here. The coronavirus is a result of the many variants of unnatural, unscientific and unnecessary practices that every society and culture can do without.
Them bad mind, them know how me fi have mine. Them know how fi see me make it out the streets, so me careful of the friend them want me keep. Them bad mind, them would rather see me bury 60 feet, but Father gotta watch more me sleep. Cause even when them try mess me life up, me turn the other cheek. So careful of the people where you meet. Cause enough of them a pig and them dirty me see say them heart weak. Me see them where you swear where you reap. Me fi have mine. Them know how fi see me make it out the streets, so me careful of the friend them want me keep. Them bad mind, them would rather see me bury 60 feet, but Father gotta watch more me sleep. Cause even when them try mess me life up, me turn the other cheek. So careful of the people where you meet. Cause enough of them